The text message arrives at 22:45 p.m. on a Tuesday. The 3 words every man dreads but secretly always expects. We need to talk. It is the digital equivalent of a guillotine waiting to drop, and the sound of that notification echoes in the sudden silence. By Thursday lunch, she's moved out. By the following Monday, her Instagram story features a new man's arm, a new restaurant you've never been to, and a smile that looks suspiciously like the one she gave you in your first month together. This cold, digital parade of her new happiness feels like a personal insult, meticulously curated to prove how quickly you were replaced. You sit there, staring at your screen, trying to solve a math equation where the numbers don't add up. Your brain is desperately searching for a miscalculation, unwilling to accept the obvious, brutal answer. How does a person go from "I love you" to "it's complicated" to "meet my boyfriend in less than 2 weeks"? How does a woman who claimed she needed time to find herself immediately find herself in the arms of someone else? It's a puzzle that drives men insane because the promised me time turned out to be the shortest off-season in history. That timeline is too perfect, too clean, too obviously planned. This wasn't a spontaneous decision followed by a lucky encounter. This was a strategic transition executed with military precision. She didn't break up with you and then meet someone new. She met someone new and then she broke up with you. The realization hits with the force of a freight train. You weren't just a partner. You were a position she only vacated after she had secured a better candidate. You know this man. You might be this man. The guy who thought he was in a committed relationship while his girlfriend was interviewing replacements. The man who believed her when she said she needed space, only to discover she needed space for someone else. Today, I'm going to explain the psychology of why women transition so smoothly and seamlessly from one relationship to the next, with gaps so short they are measured in hours, not months. Because understanding this pattern isn't about developing cynicism toward women. It's about understanding the strategic logic that governs the behavior you've been taking personally, even though it was never personal at all. 1. The relationship career ladder. Here is the first key to understanding female relationship patterns. Women approach relationships the way ambitious professionals approach their careers. They don't quit one job until they have secured another one. They don't end one arrangement until they have negotiated a better one. They don't burn a bridge until a new one is built. This is not emotional instability or moral bankruptcy. This is strategic thinking applied to romantic life. Just as no rational person quits a job without another offer in hand, no strategic woman ends a relationship without another option in reserve. The stakes are too high, the uncertainty too great, the potential fallout too severe. She instinctively understands the risks of emotional unemployment, a loss of social status, financial insecurity, and the frightening prospect of re-entering the competitive chaos of the dating market. Being single, for her, is not a period of freedom. It is a state of vulnerability to be avoided at all costs. Every day spent without a partner is a day her market value may be declining, with the biological clock ticking louder. Therefore, maintaining continuous partnership becomes a form of risk management, the equivalent of having a steady income. She cannot afford the luxury of quitting to find herself and just hoping for the best. Think about how job changes actually happen in the professional world. You don't just wake up one morning, walk into your boss's office, and announce you're leaving with no future plan. You secretly interview, negotiate better terms, and get firm offers before you ever submit your 2 weeks' notice. To your current employer, the transition seems sudden, but it was months in the making. Women apply identical logic to relationships. The breakup talk that blindsides you was preceded by weeks or months of market research, preliminary conversations, and negotiations with potential alternatives. By the time she says, "We need to talk," she has already conducted a full background check on your replacement. This career mentality explains why the timing always feels impossible to you. You are thinking in terms of emotional processing time, how long it takes to fall out of love with one person and into love with another. She is thinking in terms of strategic planning time, how long it takes to identify better opportunities and position herself to seize them. The gap between relationships isn't about emotional recovery. It's about contract negotiation and the onboarding process at the new company. 2. The upgrade system. In the corporate world, the biggest salary increases don't come from internal promotions. They come from changing companies. Staying with the same employer usually yields a 3 to 5% annual raise. But changing employers can lead to a 20-50% increase in total compensation. Women have realized the same principle applies to relationships. The lifestyle improvements, emotional benefits, and social status upgrades they seek don't come from trying to negotiate better treatment within an existing relationship. They come from using a current relationship to secure a better relationship. Each partnership becomes a stepping stone to the next level, not a final destination. This upgrade system explains why she might leave a perfectly functional relationship for something that, from your perspective, seems only marginally better. You evaluate the trade-off based on current satisfaction levels. Is this new guy really that much better than me? She evaluates it based on trajectory and potential. What can this new situation provide that my current one never will? This system also explains why your attempts to fix the relationship after she has already mentally checked out feel so futile. You are offering a 5% internal raise when she has already negotiated a 50% external offer. Your retention efforts feel too little, too late, because they are too little, too late. This relationship arbitrage keeps women constantly scanning the market for better deals while maintaining their current position. She isn't necessarily actively looking for a replacement, but her radar is always on. She is perpetually comparing the market value of her current union against what is potentially available elsewhere. Even a seemingly innocent, friendly chat with a male co-worker or an old acquaintance can be a subconscious data-gathering mission for this ongoing analysis. She maintains warm leads and keeps options open, ensuring that when an offer superior to her current one materializes, she is ready to act. This entire process is often completely invisible to her current partner, who sees only stability and routine until, suddenly, the resignation day arrives. For him, the breakup is a shock and a betrayal, not a logical career move. He mistook her presence for permanence, failing to realize that the interviews, in one form or another, had never stopped. In the end, he is left holding an outdated compensation package, wondering why his loyalty wasn't valued on the open market. 3. The developmental investment. One of the most paradoxical aspects of this dynamic is why women who transition quickly often choose men who seem less successful or attractive than their previous partners. This seems counterintuitive until you understand the theory of developmental investment. Women recognize that men who have been in committed relationships possess what economists call human capital that single men lack. They have been trained in relationship skills, emotional intelligence, and partnership dynamics. He already understands compromise, how to communicate during conflict, and the importance of emotional support, whereas a rookie would have to be taught all of this from scratch. They represent a lower risk investment because their relationship competency has been proven and developed by previous partners. This creates a perverse incentive structure where the men most attractive to women seeking relationships are the men who are already in relationships or have just recently left one. The developmental work has already been done by someone else. The new partner gets a turnkey-ready product that requires only minor customization, not a full build-out. This theory explains why she might have chosen someone who seems like an obvious downgrade to you in measurable categories: income, looks. She isn't assessing static attributes. She is assessing dynamic potential and the amount of additional development required to meet her standards. Your replacement might be more emotionally available or more ready for commitment, and thus represents a better return on investment. She isn't betting on who he is now. She's betting on who he can quickly become with her guidance, using the foundation someone else already built. The most frustrating aspect of this theory is how it penalizes the men who do the developmental work. You invest time and energy training someone to be a better partner, only to watch her take those upgraded skills to someone else, who reaps the benefits of your investment without paying any of the development costs. You have essentially run an unpaid internship preparing the perfect partner for someone else, leaving you with nothing but the training bill. 4. Risk management and diversification. Women who transition quickly are employing sophisticated risk management strategies that minimize their exposure to the vulnerability of being single. They are not jumping from man to man out of neediness or an inability to be alone. They are maintaining continuous relationship coverage to avoid a lapse in security, social status, and emotional support. This approach views being single as an unacceptable state of vulnerability, not as a natural phase of personal growth. This vulnerability isn't just emotional, it's deeply practical, affecting everything from her social circle to her financial stability. The costs and risks of being alone, social isolation, financial uncertainty, the pressure of the biological clock, are too high to justify voluntary exposure to that state when alternatives are available. This is a portfolio approach. It involves maintaining multiple relationship options at different stages of development. This portfolio might consist of a friend at work who is always there to listen, an ex with whom warm contact is maintained, and a new acquaintance from the gym. This isn't necessarily cheating, but it is strategic networking, ensuring smooth transitions when current arrangements become unsatisfactory. She is managing a pipeline of potential opportunities rather than relying on chance encounters. Maintaining this pipeline requires constant, low-level networking efforts so that by the time one door closes, another is not just cracked open, but fully ready to walk through. This approach also explains why the transitions seem so calculated and emotionless to you. She is not making impulsive, feelings-based decisions. She is executing strategic plans based on risk-benefit analysis. What you perceive as heartlessness is actually a supreme form of emotional self-discipline geared towards survival in the relationship market. The emotional processing happens in private, often months before the actual breakup, which is why by the time the announcement comes, she is already ready to move on. While he is just beginning to process the crisis, she has already mentally concluded the relationship and is in the final implementation phase of her exit plan. His shock is a direct result of her effective information and emotional management, which kept him in the dark until the last possible moment. As a result, he enters a period of mourning and chaos, while she transitions smoothly to the next, pre-vetted position with minimal personal loss. 5. Negotiation leverage. One of the most sophisticated aspects is how a current relationship provides leverage for negotiating a better future relationship. A woman who is already in a partnership is negotiating from a position of strength as she explores alternatives. She doesn't need to rush or lower her standards because her basic social and emotional needs are already being met by her current partner. A single woman is negotiating from a position of need. This need often reads as desperation, which immediately lowers her attractiveness and bargaining power. She is pressured to settle for less because her portfolio is empty, and any investment feels better than none. This leverage works because men value what other men value. A woman who is clearly desired by her current partner, social proof, is more attractive to potential partners than a woman who appears to be struggling to find or keep a relationship. Your very existence serves as a living certificate of quality, signaling to others that she has already been vetted and found worthy of a long-term commitment. The competition creates a psychology of scarcity that drives up her perceived value. The very fact that she is taken turns her into a prize to be won, rather than just an option available on the open market. The potential buyer sees that the item is already in demand, which automatically raises its price in his mind. This is why women in relationships often appear more attractive. They are subconsciously negotiating from a place of abundance, not scarcity, which creates a more magnetic energy. Her flirting becomes playful rather than desperate. Her standards seem high rather than defensive. This explains why attempts to win her back after she has left often fail spectacularly. Once she has transitioned to the new relationship, your leverage is completely eliminated, while hers is maximized. She is now on a higher rung of the career ladder, while you are trying to hire her back to her previous position at a demoted rank. At this point, you become the one negotiating from need, thereby confirming her strategic decision to leave for a stronger option. Your belated offers and promises now sound like a counteroffer from a fired employee, irrelevant and pathetic. 6. The economy of emotion and time pressure. Women operate under biological constraints that create a decision-making urgency that men often fail to fully appreciate. A 30-year-old man can afford to take a year or two off to figure himself out. For a 30-year-old woman, that same year can be critical. The fertility window, social expectations, and the competitive pressure of the dating market create time-sensitive decisions that prioritize efficiency over sentiment. This internal timer is relentless and dictates a strategy that has no room for sentimental gaps. This pressure means women cannot afford to spend months or years processing breakups, taking dating holidays, or gradually working through emotional issues while single. Every month of relationship downtime represents an opportunity cost that compounds over time. While she is healing and finding herself, her reproductive capital is diminishing, and the best options on the market may be getting snapped up. The traditional advice to take time for yourself is seen not just as a luxury, but as a strategic error. This pressure creates what I call relationship efficiency optimization. The goal is to minimize the transition time between partners, not to maximize the recovery time between relationships. The focus shifts from healing from the past to positioning for the future. The energy spent mourning a loss is seen as an inefficient allocation of limited emotional resources. That energy is better invested in cultivating new opportunities. Her grieving for the past relationship often happens in parallel with the new relationship search, not sequentially as it does for men. They are not avoiding emotional processing. They are managing it more efficiently by putting their emotional energy into prospective rather than retrospective actions. This emotional multitasking allows her to close one door while simultaneously opening another, with no valuable time lost. The man, by contrast, often needs a clean end to one chapter before he can even think about starting the next. He sees her rapid move as callousness or a lack of affection, when for her, it is an existential necessity dictated by her biology. In her strategic calculation, downtime is not rest. It is a loss in the race against time. Conclusion: it's not personal, it's a system. What feels like a personal betrayal is actually systemic behavior that follows predictable patterns based on strategic logic, biological constraints, and market dynamics. This system operates independently of your individual qualities or your level of commitment. Even great guys get replaced when better opportunities arise and the conditions for a transition become favorable. Your adequacy as a partner is less relevant than your position within her strategic planning process. Understanding this on a systemic level removes the personal sting while simultaneously giving you insight into the dynamics that affect most men. You are not competing against your own standards. You are competing against alternative opportunities that offer a different value within her strategic framework. And if this video helped you understand the strategic logic behind rapid relationship transitions, and you want to learn more about developing your own strategic approach to modern dating dynamics, subscribe to this channel, Psycheria. We are here to dissect the necessary truth about human nature. Click the bell because understanding these patterns can help you navigate modern relationships with better outcomes and less emotional damage. Share this video with any man who needs to understand that relationship transitions are often strategic decisions, not personal rejections. This isn't just about consolation, it's about giving your friends the mental tools they need to protect their self-worth. The goal is not to become a cynic, but to understand the strategic framework that governs behavior and to respond accordingly, rather than taking systemic behavior personally. When you understand the rules of the game, you can play it more effectively, instead of being surprised by predictable outcomes. Stop being a piece on her chessboard and start seeing the entire game.